team never fights. Bulldog heart burning inside. Day and night he gives his all. Stand so strong he won't fall. Sweat and blood, he's got no fear. Jacob Kiraz loud and clear. Champion works till he's sore. Cracks the ground, hear the roar. Voice of Shiraz, King Kiraz. Give me some Kiraz, Shiraz.
There's no one on yet, so.
You made that with AYA?
Yeah, mate.
It's awesome.
Comes up good.
Well, no one's joined us as yet. Oh, we got 9 people on now straight away. I don't know if they got to hear the brand new single King Kiraz. Pour me some Shiraz, King Kiraz. We'll play it later for something to do. G'day, Jamie. How you going? Welcome to the show, mate. And we've got a full panel on tonight. Welcome to Jayden and also our good lad, Jimmy Rustler. How you going, Jimmy?
Good, Mick. How are you, mate?
Really good, mate. What do you know?
What do I know? Not a lot. Not a lot. People would say, including myself.
G'day, Timmy. G'day, Mark. And g'day, Abraha. Welcome again for the 3rd week in a row to you, mate. And Jayden, welcome back. Many positive comments about you and Jimmy when he was on before and all of our guests that we've had on. But people loved your insights, Jayden, and the way you would discuss the way that the teams were working on the edges and stuff like that. There was lots of good insights. People love that. So well done, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Good to be back. Appreciate all of the comments from everyone. But yeah, no, good to be back, and yeah, always good fun jumping on.
Michael comes on later, mate. He has to pretend he's asleep with his parents, and then he jumps on when they go to sleep, because he's only a young fella, Michael. And Mark's put in the application for adoption, so we'll see what happens with that. But I'm not used to having 3 people on here, so we will, we might cut each other off a few times, or have some feedback come through, or have internets cut out. Who knows? But we'll just keep plugging through, guys. First of all, big congratulations to the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs Club. Big congratulations to the Jersey Flegg side as well. They've made the major qualifying final. So if they win this game, they go straight to the grand final. If they lose, they play the prelim next week. So really good effort by those guys. And they've had pretty much a different team every couple of weeks. So all their stars back last week, they absolutely annihilated Penrith. And now they've got to play the minor premiers, the Canberra Raiders. There's a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the Fox at some point, but we want to preview this game and look through the sides. What's your before we do that, what was your thoughts on last week? We'll start with you, Jayden. What did you think about the game in a nutshell against the Cowboys?
Yeah, definitely not our best run going into the finals. A bit of a shake up with a fair few players out, some players in. Players that we expect to perform, probably not on their best. But yeah, definitely not what we're looking for heading into finals. But everyone coming back, still think we're in a good position heading forward into the week 1.
Yep. What's your thoughts on it, Jimmy? I know we were both pretty upset. You've probably tried to forget, have you?
Oh, mate, that's one I've tried to push back into the filing cabinet with all of the other horrible things I've seen in my horrible things I've seen in my life. But what can you do? What can you say, mate? When the Cowboys just glance at you and tell you to give them the ball, and you give them the ball, you're not going to win the game. You you can't just drop the ball that many times and expect to win a game, mate. You know, put the forwards under a lot of pressure with all the defence they had to do. And we just couldn't get out of our own half a lot of the times with any of the yardage plays because we lacked the boot to get us out of there with Burto. And you could tell one thing that I did notice by the 60th minute was that even Kiraz kick chase started to really dwindle. Like everybody was zapped, mate. You know, it was a very tough game. Very tough game. You know, but they didn't stop, mate. You could tell that the heart was still in it. They didn't stop going. And win, lose, or draw, I'm still proud of them, bro.
Yeah, so Jamie's thinks that Hutchison was pathetic, but I guess that's in hindsight. He'd done the job. I've got my thoughts on Hutchison, and I've said it numerous times, and I'll clarify it for people again. Mark said there was a few that had their worst games. Look, dropping the football was the issue. And the fact that we didn't have that big boot of Burto. Jimmy, I might get you to turn your audio down if you can, a little bit. See if that does anything.
Just the overall audio, or
yeah, just so your audio hearing me come through. Because I think your speakers hearing me come through. And sorry about that, guys. It just
how's
gets
that?
some feedback. That's way better, man. Way better. Abraham Les, yes. Look, we tried to take some shortcuts in that game, and then when they started to pull players off with 20 to go, 25 to go, benching Hutchison at halftime, and he needed to hook him. There's no doubt about that. The poor guy had an absolute shocker. Felt very sorry for him. But I'll put it on the record now. I want to thank Drew Hutchison for the first 10 rounds of the competition. He was instrumental in what happened in getting our team ready. Had some poor moments in those games as well, but definitely really had a really bad game on the other night and cost us a lot, to be honest. But it wasn't just him. Not having Burton's kick didn't help. As Abraham said, kicking on the third and fourth tackle constantly, that doesn't help as well. So we did that, I think, almost 3 or 4 sets in a row. And 2 of the kicks were all right, but 2 were really poor. So I just feel they sort of knew what they wanted to do, and they had a plan, and they were trying to execute it, but they weren't in the right positions of the field, I believe, to execute those plans. And I think that's where a lot went wrong. And then when they started to make mistakes, we just got too tired and we just crumbled. And that's pretty much the tail of the tape, the way I saw it. We hold on to possession. The scoreline doesn't get like that. Those young fellas have more energy in attack. We maybe score a couple of tries. I don't know. Probably don't concede 7, maybe only concede 4 or 5 maximum, I think, if they don't drop as much ball or even give themselves a chance to win. But I think that was the tail of the tape, and congratulations to Eli Clark and Jonathan Sewer. I thought that they did a really, really good job under some really tough circumstances, so they should be very proud of themselves. Mark saying turn yourself off, Jimmy. Because I think the feedback comes from yours. I think it's like you've got the train coming through. Do you hear it on your end?
No, is it still? Have you still got feedback?
No, it's all right. But when I hear it, I'm going to go like this, and then maybe just go, "Yep." So say when you talk or anything, it cuts out.
It's all good now.
It's all good at the moment.
Sweet.
Timmy said he thought Reed tried too hard at times and spilt the ball a few times inside our own half. That's a problem that Reed can have sometimes. Jimmy hit the nail on the head. Poor mistakes plus a disjointed team equals loss. Pretty much a good summary there, Pete, and well done. Timmy said, I thought Eli Clark and Jonathan Sawyer were solid on debut. So well done to them. Can
I just say one thing, though? Like, just even that, right? Like, what if you only there was sets where some of our best sets were only 32-meter gains.
Yeah.
At a yardage. If Burto was playing and that was still to happen, we'd get the ball up to their try line with his boot without having to work it up ourselves. And once we were missing that was just that big pile on that just made it even harder for us to do anything, you know.
I went and analysed the games again. So I watched the Manly game again and the Cowboys game again. There's a huge difference in the way we defend. In the Cowboys game, we actually went set for quite a while. And we were getting our wrestle on and driving them back. And Preston was winning a lot of those contacts, but it takes up so much juice. And then for us to do that and work so hard to minimise their meters, which we did, they're still making a little bit more than us, right? But we were minimising them, and then we drop the pill, and then have to do it again, and that's what zapped us. But I felt against Manly we weren't winning those. That they were just landing on their front and playing the ball and going bang, bang, bang. Whereas the Cowboys are sort of just kept peppering our middle until we cracked, and that's what happened.
Well, I saw even with Hacho, like there was a few plays where I saw what he was trying to do. You know, he linked up with Preston a few times on that right edge. Like he nearly put Presto through a few nice little gaps, a few little short balls, but it just didn't click. Nothing really worked. You know.
Yeah, it was definitely, as Pete said, disjointed team. Mistakes equals loss. Any other thoughts that you've got, Jayden?
Yeah, I think when Hacho was playing well, it was when he was doing the simple stuff, hitting that short line. So when he started to overplay his hand a bit, when it went a bit south for him, it just wasn't his day. With that kicking thing that you were talking about, Jimmy, earlier, if you think about that Sharks game a few weeks back, we could barely get out of our own 20, but Burton just pretty well won the game for us with his boot. So you know that when he is in the team, when he's back, then he can do that against anyone. Without him, it's definitely a pretty big loss.
It's funny, isn't it, that when you think of 5'8" in the competition right now, Burton to me is like, I don't care what anyone says, I'll die on this hill. He's top 3 5'8" in the comp, in my opinion, right now, just for what he does for us and how important he is for our side and how involved he is.
Yeah. I don't think it's another 5'8" in the comp that is so involved with his kicking game, among anyone else. Like he almost has the halfback role minus the game managing. His kicking game is just so important to us.
Sorry, guys. It's been the tale all year, and we've said that. But this is when people remember when everyone was saying he's a centre. This is exactly what we were saying. It's exactly what we were saying. We're saying, well, good luck getting us out of trouble, and turning bad sets into good sets. Like we've literally won so many games off the back of Burton's boot. And all people wanted to talk about is the few conversions that he's missed. You know, games we would not have even been in the hunt if we didn't have Matt Burton. He's so important to us. But there we go. Timmy's got a good point. After 12-minute penalty goal, and the Cowboys didn't score until the 20 minutes, so we're going well set for set. And it took that intercept to basically get away on us, didn't it? And Hutch, just like Toby the weeks before, just threw the ball straight to someone, you know. Could have been 2 points for us. 4 points in the corner. Turns out they get their first try. Leo likes league. Welcome, Leo. Nice to see you, mate. Is that Fa'alongo on your... Very good little player, isn't he? Reminds me a bit of Benny Barber. Crossed with Benji Marshall. Abraham says we could have opted to get an exemption for Burton against the Cowboys, but we did not, which suggests to me they did not really want to win against the Cowboys. I wouldn't say they didn't want to win. I would suggest they were thinking more about the finals. What's your thoughts on that? I think that's a good question to ask. Good point.
Yeah, I agree that resting Burton probably was the right call. He's had a pretty big year. I definitely wouldn't say that they didn't want to win against Cowboys, but I think they're definitely looking towards week 1 of the finals rather than winning. The game in round 27.
Jimmy?
Yeah. I think the club probably, because who was it that stood him down? Stood him down. It was the club doctor, wasn't it? Because it was deemed fit by that morning, wasn't it? And then Gus by about midday said that Burton's out. That was how it went, didn't it? The next day.
So basically, everyone was saying, including Matt, was telling people after the game that he'd be playing next week. And everyone was saying, and commentators, based on the rules, that he just has to prove his fitness, that he's okay, and because it was a Category 2, he could play. But Gus Gould that night on Twitter said that he was out straight up. So I reckon they just ruled him out.
Yeah, I think he was rested on purpose, bro. Like it's actually funny when you look at how this last 2 weeks have shaken up for us. You know, like 2 wins and 2 losses and 2 really bad losses, and then the Sharks go out and do the job on Manly, and it's almost like those 2 losses didn't matter because we're still 5th and we're still getting a home final. It doesn't matter, you know. If the only way it would matter, would be the confidence factor going into this week. But I've got a feeling the boys know that this is the loser leaves town match, and I don't think they're ready to pack the season up just yet, mate. So I'm expecting that this week it's going to be a real big one.
Well, I want to show everybody something based on that, because Gus Gould said something at the pre-season launch which really caught my attention.
They've been in successful situations. They know what it looks like and they know what winning looks like. And to my eye, over the off-season, the way they have trained, the way they've come together, I know that this group of players are capable of very special things. If only that they create an environment and a culture that's going to grow our team into the future. Where they finish this year and what they do is not my opinion or what I believe, it's what they believe. And it will get down to how much they want it. But if I look at the training and the way they've come together, if I look at the program that Cameron and his staff have run and the togetherness they've got at the moment, I honestly believe that they won't be giving up on each other. They won't be giving up on the club, and that they'll fight every inch of the way to a full season. And that's all I ever ask them to do. Train hard, play hard, never give up.
All right, there you go. I don't know. I got shivers when I watched that 3 times in a row. Just at the last bit when he says, and never give up. Because something my mum said to me when I started following the Dogs, and I don't know if this resonates with you guys, was I said, why do we follow the Bulldogs? She goes, because they look good and they never give up, no matter what. And that's just, written in the DNA. And although I felt there was a bit of give up in the last couple of games, like Kick Out didn't want to come off. He did not want to come off, but he was spent, as you were saying, Jimmy. And they wanted to rest him for 20 minutes to give him a break before these finals. And I think it's testament. He wasn't giving up. No one out there was giving up. But I think the club and the coaches and Gus, I think they know that this week is what counts. Once we made the finals, and remember we were up for won 10 out of 12 or something, 11 out of 13 to make the 8, to qualify for it. Then we'd made the 8. Rhetoric changed a little bit. Goals were reset. All of a sudden, we get 70 put on us and score about 28 or something. So I think they were looking ahead. That's my gut. I'm hoping.
I don't think I answered your question properly before, because you asked me basically about Burton and what you thought I thought about resting him was. And I think it was the right call, man, to be honest with you. He hasn't had a rest all year, has he? Correct me if I'm wrong. And if we're going to do anything in the finals, we need this guy fit and firing. And I would have rather him rest that game, avoid any sort of suspension, injury, another head knock, anything like that, and just have him fit and ready for the actual real grand final, which is not the grand final, but the quote unquote grand final, which is next week. Because if we're being real, 5th was locked in, and all we were missing was the home final. And I'm sort of the attitude that if these boys really want it and they're hungry enough, it doesn't matter if we're playing at home, mate. They'll go and they'll win it anywhere. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If they're going to win, they're going to win. But it is nice that the Sharks did us a favour and secured us that home final, which was I was expecting, to be honest. And here we are, 2 losses that didn't really change anything, but the internal confidence, which I don't know if it has changed or not. I don't think it has. I think it's probably higher now. And it just goes back to just them as a group, How bad do they really want it now? Because this is the end. This could be the end this week, and it could not be the end. So it's just up to them now, Yeah.
So Status Tombs asked, "Get welcome to the podcast, mate. Who are the Dogs play next week if they win Manly?" So we'll play the loser of Penrith and Roosters. So, and then we have to play if we win that game. So if we beat Manly, then win the next game. We'll then play the winner of Storm and Cronulla, who play this week. So whoever wins that game would wait for us in a prelim final if we can make it. And I've got a feeling there's going to be some upsets. Hey, I'm just hoping those upsets happen around, the other sides and not us.
I think Melbourne are going to. I think the Sharks are going to beat Melbourne this week.
Yeah, I got a feeling, but I don't know why I feel that.
I'm thinking they beat them. They beat him in Melbourne with Cam McInnes as their half.
Daniel
so just remember that. Just remember that. I got a feeling that they are going to do a job on them this week. I've got a feeling.
Yeah, well, it's one of those seasons. It's a weird season, this one. I don't think I've experienced one like it. Jamie says the Fijian Rhino will be looking for blood this week. Well, I hope so. I bloody hope so. And congratulations to Viliami Kikau, thoroughly deserved winner of bloody hell, I've just embarrassed myself. The Dr. Paponis award, which is the most prestigious award a clubman can get. Whilst there's other people who would easily, I wouldn't say you were wrong if you were saying Kiraz could have won that award, or Stephen Crichton or some other players. I wouldn't have argued, but I think there's probably, if 17 coaches in the competition were coaching the Bulldogs, I think many of them would believe that Kikau deserves that award based on what they.
The good thing about this season, last year it was all Jacob Preston. He was our shining light. This year we've got players across the board. A lot of players standing up, really performing. So definitely the difference.
It's a perfect example. And I actually made that example when I said that in a comment when Presto did a press conference a couple of weeks ago. I said it's just so good that Preston isn't our best player this year.
Yeah, he shouldn't be. He's a second-year player.
Someone said, he wasn't doing his job because he had 6 runs and made 40 tackles and had 3 or 4 missed or something. I'm just like, we didn't play that way. We didn't get the ball in that position. You played the other side of the field.
Yeah, he can do all the attacking things. He's a great line runner. He's good with the ball in his hand, but he's an absolute workhorse. That's the best part of his game. And
the other thing too is oppositions will run at Preston as well. They prefer to run at Preston than kick out. And he made 50-something tackles on the weekend. Phenomenal performance. Kick out made 24. Tried to make more. And I think he had 10 runs for 81 metres. King had 10 runs for 85. they were our two best meter makers out of the forwards, which just shows how much of a lack of pill that we had. Pete says, Glaber at home, not Brookie, has to be worth a few points. Lucas has answered the question. Lucas loves the passion and commitment of the players have shown all year. Yeah, Jamie, he did say that they asked him about Olakau'atu. He goes, I thought I was big until I saw Olakau'atu. And then he said, are you going to take him on? He goes, yep. He's kept it short and sweet. Any thoughts on the New South Wales Cup side this year, guys? Anyone got any thoughts on that? I know I do.
Yeah, it's sort of just been shaken up throughout the year. Haven't been able to keep a consistent side on the field, whether it's from first grade injuries in their own grade or what, but still developing some pretty good players. Maybe not the most competitive year, but very close to finals, just couldn't get in there.
Look, I'll give you the inside word on the New South Wales Cup. Pretty short and sweet. If we wanted to win New South Wales Cup this year, we would have won it. And I could say the same about the Panthers. I could say the same about a couple of sides. That's how much talent we've got at the moment. If the coaches were focused on winning New South Wales Cup this year, we would have won it. They completely turned that side upside down a few times, and then changed some as they do, because they started thinking about winning first grade, like that they could actually win it, and had to sort of prepare for stuff. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that. They won the last game. They had a couple of good wins, a couple of bad losses on the run home. Yeah. Oh, here we go. So Mark's saying Kickout didn't deserve the George Paponis medal. Anyone got any thoughts on that?
Mark, I always say this, right? Like, we like to think like, and I'm guilty of this myself, we sort of like to think we know what goes on, but there's another element to it. Like, we see the performances on the field every week, but we don't see what happens at training. We don't know who's leading the charge at training. We don't know who's training the hardest. We don't know who's lifting the boys up at training, and I've got a feeling that Kickout is probably one of the hardest workers at the club in that regard, and maybe they're looking at different things in regards to what the criteria was when they handed that award out. But look, I'm not gonna say I've got any problem with it at all. But if I was to say if there were any other candidates for that award besides Kickout, I'd definitely say that for me personally, I feel like Burton would have been one of them, and maybe Kiraz, just for what they've done for the side this year and how integral they are. But Kickout's just as integral. His kick chase in the comp is the best kick chase right now, I think. Like, he's always there. Fullbacks, when that ball gets kicked to that edge, fullbacks must be looking at this guy steaming down on him. He misses the tackle 90% of the time. But what does it do? It forces the fullback to change their line. They're running sideways now because they're trying to run away from Kickout, not run into Kickout. And who's following usually, Mark and Jayden? It's usually our good friend Bailey Hayward, right behind Kickout. So they look at effort like that, and I feel like maybe that award was based around just pure effort on the field,
Any thoughts, Jayden?
Yeah, you see it every single game, like from the kick chases, his massive defensive efforts. By the end of the game, he's absolutely exhausted every week because of the massive efforts he's always putting in. Everyone knows what he can do with the ball. He's an incredible line runner. He's big, strong, pretty unstoppable. The footwork he's got to go with it's pretty ridiculous. But yeah, just the massive efforts that he still puts out pretty regularly. You see the big back rolls like that that are all talent. Not a lot of them are as much effort as Kickout, but just brings it every single week. Yeah, I think there are a few players that deserve the award. He's definitely one of them for me.
Yeah. That's what I said. And when I started, I said that I wouldn't begrudge a few other players if they won the award. And I did put up a post on All Things Bulldogs about the players that I believe would be in contention for Daily M positions of the year. And all of them are the ones that won awards for Canterbury. So there was Kickow for second rower. He was already in the top 10 when it went behind doors. So he'd had quite a few games of high scoring. And I'd suggest he's one of the best performing second rowers as far as impact on the game, impact on his teammates. Jimmy, say something to me.
Can you hear me?
I can now.
What's going on?
It's because the background noise comes through. It's like you're in the train, brother. Seriously, it's like train tracks.
I can't hear it on my side. Nothing's coming through. Yeah.
It comes through on the stream for some reason.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But when Jimmy talks, it goes away. So it's your fault, Jimmy.
Sorry, everyone.
You had shame, all right? I actually don't know if it comes through on the recording though, so I've got to check that. I don't often watch what we do, so it's probably why I repeat myself a bit. Getting back to Kickow, look, with everything you guys said, I don't need to really repeat that. But all I'll say is context is so important. We have discussion on Talkback Radio talking about teams were crap this year because their meters were less and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, all comes down to errors. All comes down to who was on the park. It all comes down to the little things like the wrestle, the play the ball speed, and how much pressure your team is under, and that'll determine what the outcomes are, which are the other stats. And because Canterbury worked so hard in so many areas this year, with their wrestle, with their kicking game, and with their positions on the field and where they kept their opposition, that's why we've been able to win 14 matches this year and improve a hell of a lot in a lot of stats that we've sucked at. Want to read through some? Can you see them on the side, the chats there, Jimmy?
Yeah, I can see them.
Read them out for me.
Okay, so where are we up to?
Timothy.
We're talking here about Harry Hayes and Hayward. They've been awesome.
Yeah.
They have. Harry Hayes, I feel like Harry Hayes, once he bulks up a bit, I think puts on a bit more size because he's still young, he'll be damaging. He'll be a weapon. Big, lanky, with a bit more muscle, I reckon.
Yeah. Well, Mark made the comment that he reminded him of David Clemmer, and I was like, sort of laughed at it. But then I've been trying to visualize it. And I'm like, well, he's just got to thicken up a bit more and toughen up a bit more. But I'll tell you something, I think he's got more of a Superman jaw than Clemmer. And I think he's a bit faster too. He's actually a lot.
He doesn't back down. He's not scared of the contact. He's in there. And Hayward, what can we say? He's had an amazing year. It looks like he's been playing in the side for a couple of years the way he's going.
If you watched him last year, there's no way you would have thought that. Throwing arms out on the edge, under fatigue. They wrapped him in cotton wool, give him a 2-year deal and said, you're going to be in first grade in a couple of years. You can fight for it next year. And look what he's done. Trained with the top 30 and made his mark in the trials and got picked. We all thought he'd be one that would go back. He's been there ever since he come in. Same with Harry. So
he's a real Serraldo player. Hayward, just a real good defender. Will tackle his ass off in the middle and just do the job. Like, have we? I don't know if I remember it, but have we seen a big error or a big brain fade from Hayward? I don't think we have.
No, like he should have been crowned a match winner against the Cowboys. And he's had a couple of moments which have been instrumental in wins that we've had. So, but it's more so the defence. What a good guy for Canterbury. Like, I just keep saying, oh, good stuff, Bailey. Good stuff, Bailey. It's even stuff that you don't see. The stuff that I'm constantly going good stuff, Bailey, about is the amount of times he runs beside someone for no reason almost.
Yeah.
Just the effort after effort. And a lot of our team has done that really well this year. Timmy says we still think we've missed Kurt the last few weeks. Kurt Mann ain't the reason we conceded 78 points. Loss of Kurt Mann is huge. So Kurt Mann, he's gone. We don't have him for the rest of the season. Has been a big loss for us. I suppose there's no point dwelling on it. I think Salmon was better last week, and many people will disagree with me, but I felt Salmon was a lot better with his passing last week and his defence. He was getting in there and wrestling his ass off, making lots of tackles. Any thoughts on Jamon Salmon?
You can take this one first, Jayden.
Yep. Yeah, I think because when he missed a fair few games, he was out for about 6 weeks or so. He's only just come back for about, 3 or 4 games now. Yep. Getting into that start in 13 jersey, it's not really a position that you can just jump in and be ready to go in, unless you're been a 13 for a long time. It's a bit different to every other position on the field. You've got to be able to run, take the tough carries, and be the link man. I like Salmon as a defender. He's pretty good. He's a smaller body in the middle, but he wrestles well. He eats contact pretty well. And with his history as a half, he can definitely pass the ball. He can ball play pretty well. He's just got to gel with the blokes around him, and I think he's done that the past couple of weeks. And hopefully, going into the finals, he hits a bit of form going in there. But yeah, I think he can definitely play the role.
Before you step in, Jimmy, I'll just add to that that's why I feel that it's better he starts, because I feel that Bailey he's probably got a bit more spark in those areas when they bring him on, and I think that just gets nullified completely. I don't think Jamon is as good as an impact player as what Bailey is, and I think impact is such an important thing in today's game. But yeah, I'll leave you with that, Jimmy.
The thing about Salmon, which I do like, is he goes about his business. He's one of them players that you're not really watching on the field because he's not flashy. He's just in amongst it. And I don't like the recency bias around him. Do people remember what he went through to nearly win us that game against the Warriors? The guy broke his face, mate.
Yeah.
Came off the field with a broken jaw. The guy had... And that's not the first time this year he's come off like that, man. He has really put his body through the ringer for us this year. Like, he's in the wars, man. Yeah. And just because we're not seeing the flashiness out of him, we're not seeing, when he's at lock, we're not seeing the link up like Jayden was saying, like the real silky link ups.
Yeah.
People need to look at what else he's doing. And man, he's really put trash in his body for the club right now, man. He really is. He's
really good
in amongst it all.
Really well said, mate. And that's what pisses me off about a lot of fans across all clubs, because they're all so stuck in this. I say it all the time, the Hollywood, because he runs. Because he's not as good as someone else in the position. They're like, well, we just got to look past him and go for someone. Try another player. Try a young up and comer has been the catch cry for so many fans for a long time. The hindsight. Experts. I just think that this guy, is trusted by the club and by the coach, and we should trust him too. And he's not as you said, not flashy. But he can have a step, and he has scored some couple of important tries for us this year, which got us going in games that we were losing in. So we've got that element of surprise with him a little bit as well. But just because Kurt Mann's got better leg speed, probably better on his feet, but he's not there. So we've got to use the next best options. And I think Salmon and Haywood are the perfect partnership for what we need.
Just one thing that I like about him, and just one thing I feel like we've got now embedded in our culture with this quote unquote rebirth. It's the willingness to go out there and just destroy yourself for the club and the guy next to you.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it in our defence. And Salmon is a byproduct of that, just based off some of the things we've seen happen to him this year, Yeah. I won't forget it, that charge down on Tamari Martin, the one where, what was it, a head clash, wasn't it? And they were trying to, with the penalty and that. He threw everything out the window, mate. Didn't care. Put his body on the line to get to that man. In what was it, the 85th minute? It was golden point, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For him to still have that petrol in his tank and the desperation to get that far out to hit him, it should show you like what he's about. And I feel like that's what I look for in blokes that play for the club I support. Just guts, just guts, mate. You know.
Yeah. I think there's been lots of players like that, and they're the reason why they hold their spots. And I'll go back to Drew Hutchison as well. I can tell you now in those first 2 rounds, I remember Cleese Huss in round 3 when it was pretty tight, running straight at Drew Hutchison, 1-on-1, and he just nailed him. Toby wouldn't have done that in round 3. I'd back Toby to do it now, 100%. But he wouldn't have made that tackle in round 3, and we can see there was times when on that right edge, you know, and on that left edge, I should say, where players have just been running at him all season, and he put his ass on the line, and to the point of exhaustion, you know, and then was trying to run the team as well. So, as I said, I'll say it again. Thanks for your first 10 rounds, Drew. Good luck. It was horrible last week, horrible to watch. But, you know, we'll move on. So, who else has put their body on the line, do you think? Pretty much everyone.
Yeah. If you look at the all of the players that have sort of debuted this year or come up, pretty well every single one of them are a type of player that take every run that they can, tackle their asses off. Like we've seen Clark and Sewer debut this week. Both of them had, I think Clark had over 10 runs. Sewer's got pretty close to 20 or so. Yeah, Harry Hayes, your Haywards, all of them just absolute goers. Love defense, love a shit hit up, never back down, always fall forward. I think you can definitely see the type of player that the Bulldogs are going for. All these young fellas coming up are getting used to the culture, and turning into that kind of player that we're looking for.
Yeah, culture.
Yeah. For me, bro, like, mate, you know me, Mick. I'm a massive, massive, massive Curtis Moran stan.
Mm-hmm.
That man in the past month and a half, the errors have been removed from his game, bar that drop ball the other night against the Cowboys when he made that break, which he looked like he was going to score. He has improved, man. He's turned a real corner. No, he hasn't dropped it in a while. And for his stature, we know he's one of the smaller props in the game, but he does not take a step backwards. And for me, man,
yep.
For me, that effort, you can't train that heart, mate. You either got it or you don't. And he just looks at the big boppers and he runs straight into them, straight line, straight into everybody, mate. I love that bloke. I hope he's with us. I don't want to see him leave the club. Well,
they extended him they got him off development into a 2-year deal, so he's here with us next year. And he's the type of player I guess they look at and go, we can get value out of this guy for a long time. And I sort of feel sorry for people like that in a way as well. But look, you know, because if you start having to spend $500,000 of your cap on Curtis, he's probably worth it. But I don't know. He's pretty skillful too. And when he come through under 21s, he was the best player in the team. He won the Jersey Flegg Player of the Year. He's not just a run 100 miles an hour into the contact. He can throw a ball. He can play lock, be a ball playing lock. I've seen it. So yeah, I love Curtis. But against Manly, remember when Olakau'atu smashed him and he stayed down? Did everyone actually? This is what shits me about commentators in the game. The reason he stayed down, had to go off for a HIA, it wasn't because he got a perfect tackle into his chest. He got headbutted in the jaw after the initial contact on the way down. And I actually saw it again on the weekend. where players are now leading with the head and trying to, as a player's head's hitting the ground, their head's jamming it into the ground as well. As like it's not a headbutt, it's all part of one motion, but it's happening more and more. Did anyone see that?
Yeah, like when I saw that tackle, that Olakuatu tackle, let's give credit is due. He absolutely he put the big kibosh on our boy, you know. And I dare say it was a few things that might have had Kurt stay down a bit, because he landed flat on his back from a pretty high grade, you know. And I feel like maybe he might have got the wind knocked out of him a bit as well on the way down with the contact. But what you saw, so you're saying that when he came down, not while he was on the floor, like the heads sort of clashed a bit, like coming down.
So his shoulder's gone into his chest, right? And so I'm Curtis Moore and I'm going back. Halimi's shoulders hit him there. And then as he's fallen back, his head's gone in, and as his head's gone into his jaw. 100%. 100%. And it like jolted him. And that's why he was like, oh, people thought he was milking it. And he actually had to go off for a HIA, genuinely, because he was dazed a little bit because it smashed him.
He doesn't stay down. He doesn't stay down, man. I'll completely dispute that. He does not stay down. He's not that player.
Tough as nails.
He's a smaller player. He gets hit in the head a lot. He's not milking nothing.
Nothing.
No, exactly. Timmy says it's Kickout's leadership off the field 100%. So what you guys sort of talked about is culture, the culture of the players, and these young guys that are coming through, Jayden. So to elaborate on your point as well, and what we've all basically said is that Kickout leading the kick chase. Kickout's defense on the edges, the way he works and at the speed he does to shorten that defensive edge, to make that is why he's probably won awards, is because his teammates, the club, the amount of trust that they have in him to help them defend on those edges is phenomenal. And he had to stand out there the other day with Jayden Sewell, with Eli Clark, and with Drew Hutchison in that first half, and then had to have Bailey come on in the second half, who hasn't really defended on the edge except for 2 sets the previous week. And really, they weren't that bad considering that we only had 40% possession at the 60-minute mark or something. So I felt, that's just tribute to Kickout. And, I think that's the culture with that. These players that see they're setting standards in effort, not in how skillful they are, or not in how bloody, how they can break the line and all that sort of stuff. It's all in the effort areas that they're setting the pathway for the juniors coming through. And let's face it, some of those juniors may have more talent than some of these guys will ever have that are already there. But are they going to work as hard? That's the thing. So
that's probably the other thing with the juniors coming through. Like, we've got Bailey Hayward, a halfback, played very well as a halfback, shifting into hooker, playing lock now in first grade. Harry Hayes, he's played every position in the back line. Now he is a back rower for our first grade team. He's a front rower. All these players doing whatever they have to do to get into the squad.
Yep. So, Pete asked, who should have been player of the year? Because Mark's saying that Kickout wasn't the best player. And he says Kurt Mann or Connor Tracy. I'd say both those players did a fantastic job. Wouldn't begrudge them at all. And they're both very important to us. I'd say Kickout's more important to us. I'd say that 100%.
Like we were saying before, I wouldn't have had a problem with any of those names getting it. Everybody has just done a job for us this year. People got to remember, mate, like we were tipped to get the spoon with the Dragons and the Tigers pretty much by a lot of people. And the only reason we've made it this far is off the back of the effort of the 17 blokes that go out there and do this every week. And I don't think anyone has really let us down. Like, people are really sour on Hutcho at the moment, but it's funny, man. We talk about hindsight, Pete, Mick, but are we in this position now if Hutcho didn't start the season out for us? If Sexton started out the season for us, how do we know we're in this position now? We don't know.
As I said, just quickly, Hutchison's form in New South Wales Cup, if you're watching it, he was doing a great job in New South Wales Cup. And had he started the season in New South Wales Cup, I have no doubt he would have been impressing the hell out of our fan base. So after 2 losses and probably conceding more points, which I just believe that would have happened at that point of the season, we would have had a whole heap of people telling the coach they needed to bring Drew Hutchison into the side. I have no doubt about it. And that young guy put under pressure. I sort of go with the fella they got playing at halfback for the Cowboys now. I think Todd Payton's done well keeping him in reserve grade most of the year, where he dominated. Brings him in just before the finals, Jake Clifford, and he's been one of their best players. Like, coaches know what they're doing. They know what they're doing, and it's horses for courses when you need them. And there's a plan, and I believe they've executed that plan for the most part. But yeah, and another thing they'll say, busting their ass, Kurt Mann broken his hand, I think, twice, did another injury. Max King's had about 3 injuries this year. The Foxes had about 3 or 4 injuries this year. Preston's had his face busted, plus had another injury. Kiraz has busted every single week and hardly train. You know, Connor Tracy was injured at the start of the year, had no preseason, and then has done a phenomenal job at fullback. Like, they've just been busted the whole bloody year, and to win 14 games under those conditions. And the final point on that is no team inside the 8 has had as many injuries as the Bulldogs this year. Cowboy has missed as many games through injury as the Bulldogs' best 17 players. So there you go. And coincidentally enough, the 5 of the teams in the top 8 have had the least amount of injuries of all clubs. So we've punched above our weight yet again. Harry's another Josh Jackson. Anyone agree with that?
Mate, yeah, Harry can be anything right now. I'm really excited to see where this bloke goes, you know?
I think he's got, similar mould. Absolutely rips and tears. I'd be curious to see him in the back row. I think he's more comfortable there. See how he goes. It's not a position where we'll be able to put him there, but I think it would be good to see him have a go there. But yeah, absolutely rips and tears.
See, what about that chase he put on too? It's flying past the other winger, and what a great chase. Timmy says we could have given the best player of the year to Burto. Yeah, I felt Burto had a very good year. Steve reckons we took the foot off the pedal last 2 weeks, and even Matty John said this. So who's the weak gutted dog now? Veljam, welcome back. Haven't seen you for a while, mate. The majority of our team has been consistently good all season. I was about to name our top players and found myself typing about 10 names. Whoever was chosen top dog was a close call. Yeah, well said, mate. Good question here. What do you guys think? Do you think that Jackson Topone lawsuit has motivated our team this year? All due respect to mental health, I hope he's doing well, but could the team have actually got closer from it? Any thoughts on that?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? This, because obviously we don't know where it's at anymore because it's been completely taken out of the headlines, and I dare say it's it's in the courtroom at the moment. But it wasn't just him though last year, you know, like there was a few players that put us on blast when they left the club. Andrew Davey was one of them. Famanu Brown. Yep. A few people had their things to say once they left the club. And I dare say maybe the boys that were still there, the boys that are still there now, maybe took it a bit personally. you know, because at the end of the day, mate, you're a 17-man squad and you're a unit. And if there's one bloke in there who doesn't want to do the hard work, then you're a loose link in the chain. I'm not saying that Toppany is a loose link in the chain, because I've actually met the man, and I met the kid, and I actually really like him. You know, really nice kid. Who knows what was like? We don't know the ins and outs of the situation, you know, about what's going on in the kid's head, you know. But I just hope the best for him personally. If I was advising him, I wouldn't have advised him to take this route, because it's sort of sent him down a path of no return. I was saying this to other people. I sort of wish him and the club could have actually got together behind closed doors and sort of put this to bed themselves. Yeah. And sort of just chalked it up to a bit of a, you know, just a learning experience from a young kid, you know. But sadly, it didn't happen, you know.
Yeah. Bad advice, I think, is what I put it down to. But that's just from an outsider looking in. Any thoughts, Jayden?
Yeah, I think it definitely is something that could have sent the team in either direction. It could ruin a season, or it can bond a team. And I think we've got the right leaders in the club now that it could set us up for a good season. I was definitely disappointed in the situation. I was a Jackson Toppany fan. The way that he played on the field, this doesn't really resonate that kind of player. He was a hard worker. He made plenty of tackles, got through plenty of work. But disappointed how it's all gone. Hopefully he can come through it all good. But dogs have landed on their feet and set us up for this season. Yeah.
Well, we're looking at comparisons with 2004. We had 2 scandals then. We had a scandal in 95 with Super League and losing all our players. So now we've got our second scandal. So that'll lead us into speaking about the Fox very soon, which I don't want to spend too much time on, but I was just sort of want to clarify some stuff. Timmy says that Salmon's been good. Wanted to get your take on the last few weeks also. He's versatile. He's rotated through the lock forward centre and 5'8" on the weekend. That just goes down to what Jimmy was saying, Timmy. He's just been putting it on the line every week, playing wherever he's needed. Had some fans going on about, we're not playing Preston because of Salmon and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, they were giving Preston a rest. Make 40 tackles and needed a break. Stevie says Salmon is just like us, growing up a diehard dog supporter. He would die for the Dogs jersey. Mark says you can't be taking singular moments to justify a person's position if there is someone better waiting to go. Don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, anyone know what Mark's talking about?
Are you talking about the point I made about when he broke his face to get up in the line on Tamari? Is that the one? Like, look, I sort of see what Mark is saying. You can't cherry pick little moments here and there, But
it's just
from what I see from Salmon, from what I see from Salmon, he's a real effort-based Serraldo player. And Serraldo knows what he's got with him, and they think very highly of him. I remember Gus saying that he thinks Salmon is the next Wade Graham. So I feel like they know what they've got with him, and they're willing to put the effort into him to get him to that next level. Like I said, it just comes down to me. I like a bloke who wants to bust his gut for the club. That's an A+ player for me.
Yeah, I think that moment in the Warriors game was just sort of an emphasis on the way that he plays every week. He tackles hard, runs hard, good line speed, and that was just one moment that stands out to everybody. That really shows off the kind of player he is.
Yeah, he's not flashy. Doesn't look like. That's what I mean. That it's all baked in Hollywood. Sorry if I'm being offensive, but I sort of mean what I say, Mark. It seems like you watch with you sit back there and watch with 3D glasses on and have pink flashing lights on in the room and You're waiting to have, you got your stats all there on one screen. Who's got the most meters? Anyway.
Love you, Mark.
Love you, Mark. Jamie says, and Mark, just to answer it, using one example as to why you think someone like to demonstrate a character trait or to demonstrate stuff is fine. We're not going to sit there and talk about every fucking moment he's had. But anyway, Jamie Teasdale can't wait for Tom Amone and Daniel Saluka for feeder next year. So tell me about Tom Amone. I know D, who's been coming on the show, and he's been a little bit crook. He might be on next week. He's been watching Tom Amone all season in the Premier League, and he loves what he sees. Has anyone else had any thoughts on Tom Amone?
I definitely don't know him too much. I've watched a few highlights, a couple games of him. Looks like he's not a massive front rower. He's got enough size about him, but he's got pretty good impact. He runs hard. He's got a little bit of ball skills, enough for a front rower. I think he would be most suitable to off the bench role, bring some punch. Limited minutes, but plenty of impact when he gets on the field.
Yeah, well, he's been killing it apparently.
I think he plays pretty big minutes in England, so I know it's a different level for us. And if you watch the Canberra Raiders, the way they acclimatise their blokes from over there, that's what we've got to do. It's definitely not the same. They can't just put them all under the same training regime. I swear they treat them a little bit differently and work them into it. But that Morgan Smithies has had a pretty big year for the Raiders.
Good player.
He's just come in and done his job, and I still haven't forgotten about Ryan Sutton, because I think if you have him coming off the bench, he's got a great tackling technique, one-on-one, man. Him and Max King are actually really good one-on-one defenders, and can slice a bloke right from the hip. But you just need, when you're working as that pack with that defensive wall, you need a couple of bigger blokes around you as well. You know what I mean?
That's real sad, man, for Ryan Sutton, because he was having a real good game up until that point. He was playing well, for the time he was on the field. He looked good, and I dare say that if he was fit today and playing for us, man, you have that little bit of extra grunt on the side,
Yeah. I just think, he could be a real handy player for us next year if he does play. So, and he's the forgotten about man.
We've got a few forgotten about blokes. Patolo as well. He was training. He was training this week from the footage I've seen. So there's a few big boys waiting to return for us.
Well, Chris Patolo is named as on the extended bench this week, so we'll talk about that in a second. But Daniel Saluka for feeder, has anyone watched much of him yet?
Not enough to have too much of a take on him. He's sort of the missing piece for the type of player we need. A proper big body with pretty good athleticism about him. Sorry. If he can find form and get fit, he's the type of player that we're looking to get into our side.
Definitely, man. All I'll say is 7 runs for 106 meters, and there's your stat for you, Mark. That stat definitely didn't lie. Off the ball though, a little bit of the Franklin Pelés about him. But you expect that coming back from that long off. But the way he just ripped and teared from the first run to the last run that he had that I watched, I was bloody excited. He was just as hard and fast off the first run as he was off the last. It was like opening night performance every time. Defensively was trying to get into it. I think that's where he'll do a lot of work in the off season, is on the defense and the fitness, and we will see a real asset next year. Belgium says, I think Smarnie's broken the all-time record for most tackles for our club. He certainly has in one season. That's right. Timmy says he's a tackling machine. Tupanua is more exciting for mine. Yeah, Mark, as we said, when he tried to chase down Gerald Skelton, and a couple of years ago when the Roosters were playing us, he was sort of coming on the scene and he just ripped us apart. He looks bigger than he is. He's not that big, but he's definitely going to add to our squad, that's for sure. And he's in our top 17 right now if he comes in. Someone in our 17 drops out for him. Yeah. Any thoughts on Tupanua to go along with what Mark's got to say there?
I think he's exceptional player. He's an incredible athlete. His best position's most likely in the back row, but for us, I expect him to be part of that middle rotation. Injuries are the only thing that's really held his career back so far. So if he can stay fit for us, definitely expect big things from him.
Jimmy?
Yeah, with the plethora of forwards we're going to have next year, it's going to be interesting to see where all these blokes fit into the puzzle, you know. How many do we carry on the bench? Who returns this year to start or come off the bench? Because we've got a few big boys coming, you know, and with Hay, we've got so many we went from having no forwards to having a lot of forwards now, you know. So it's going to be interesting. And where do you play Tupanua? Do you play him in the back row? Do you give him a stint off the bench in the front row? Like, it's all up for debate at the moment. You know, it's all in the air because, you know, as we've determined, we've got this fast mobile forward pack that's ready to go and just put in all that effort. And maybe Tupanua can fit that mold as coming off the bench and having a stint in the front row. Who knows? I don't know, because the back row seems pretty locked down with Kikau and Preston.
Yeah.
So you're sort of thinking this is a big puzzle they're going to have to solve in the off season.
Yeah, my opinion with Tupanua is he'll be part of the middle rotation and he'll be first off the bench as a back rower, whether it's injury or a 20-minute stint here and there. But yeah, I think he'll most likely get that part of that middle rotation role.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. And I think that we'd also expect that there's going to be some players there that might be in the 30 that may not be there next year. There will be some movement at the station, but some love for Curtis Moran from the guys and for Reid Marnie. Timmy says Hutcho definitely helped develop Joey O'Neill's game in New South Wales Cup along with the other guys coming through the grades. 100%. Joey struggled a bit in defence at the end of the season, but that's normal in his first season of New South Wales Cup. And I'd expect Joey O'Neill will be training if he's with Canterbury next year, which I thought he'd be sewing up by now. I'd expect he'll be training with the top 30 squad over the off season. Mark says Phil Gould has broken his mould and showing great leadership in the Josh Addo-Carr saga. Another backhanded compliment. Or is it? Or have I just had poor reading comprehension on that?
You know, I've got to say something about Phil Gould, right? If there's ever an example of a man who you want leading your club, it's this guy. It's 100%. This guy. He knows what to say. He knows how to work it. He understands how it all works, man. And the way that he had everybody eating out of his hand with that press conference at Belmore, the media have basically compared this situation now with Josh Addo-Carr to the handling of the Latrell Mitchell situation by Souths, and they've put South. It's like they've thrown Souths under the bus to prop up how good Phil has handled this situation. He got in the front foot of it, collected all the facts, and gave all the facts straight to the media. And for everyone who wants to know, didn't let didn't leave it alone. He took the bull by the horns and wrestled it to the floor.
Let's I'm going to speak for a few minutes now, guys. So listen in. Phil Gould he set the record straight on Monday night for 100% footy. Repeated himself 1,000 times. Then come on at 11 a.m. the next day and repeated himself 100 times with the one bit of added information, and that was that Josh Addo-Carr had stood himself down, basically because Gus gave him the advice on what to expect if he played or what to expect if he stood down. So basically, he's painted the pictures. These are the pictures that you're looking at. He's basically said you should stand down, right? We need to understand that's how it worked. Now, he gave the facts from the police. So he told the facts from the police, what the police told him. He then also had Josh's interpretation of the facts and what he felt Josh had done, knowing all the interactions he's had with Josh Addo-Carr over the last couple of seasons. So he knows Josh, right? So he trusts what Josh has said. He believes what Josh has said. If it comes back and says that Josh is positive to cocaine off that second reading, the lab reading, well, then they've got a whole new ball game to deal with. But basically, he's only stood down for the benefit of the team and the club, not because he's guilty, not because he's innocent, but it's the right thing to do for the team. Last night on NRL 360 and also some other channels with Bulldog Richie and David Riccio, they've confused the fuck out of the whole situation, which the entire media circus has taken on today to act as vague and dumb about the whole fucking thing, right? The only issue is that if it's probably not normal protocol, as Gus was explained to by the police do have discretion to allow a player to drive off, right? He's driven off after he took the second lab sample in the back of the car. There's no reason he would lie about that. Now, what NRL 360 and David Riccio and Bulldog Richie have tried to do is essentially say that there was no second test done, but what they were talking about was the second swab, which is often what they do, right? If it comes up positive and they're not just, the person looks coherent, there's no drama, there's something showing up, they wait for a while and then say, oh, we'll take another one, then wait for a while and see what that says. And if there's ever an anomaly, which happens occasionally, not often, they'll probably let them go. If they've got concerns, they'll make them take the next tests, and then they basically not supposed to drive and stuff. But if the police say he can drive home, he can drive home. There's no drama there. So basically, the media have tried to act as stupid and vague and dumb about this for the whole day. The only point I would make is if Josh Addo-Carr could have taken a second swab prior to the second sample, which is two different things, the lab sample, if he could have taken a second swab and it comes back from this lab test that he had no case to answer, he's missed the game for no fucking reason whatsoever. That's the whole tragedy out of it. That's the only sort of talk that we could be having about this. He's either got it in his system or he doesn't. And really, if there was no leak to the fucking media, which I have my reservations on how that happened, but I'm not going to voice them publicly. If there was no leak to the media, Josh should be playing, and we'd only hear about it if it was a positive on the B sample. Anyone got anything different to that?
I'll let you take it. You can go. You go first, Jayden.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a tough situation where it doesn't sound like anything's gone wrong. It sounds like they've all followed all the protocols that they had to. People are making a big fuss about it, but dogs are doing what they've had to do. Addo-Carr's done what he's had to do, and people like to make big noise about what goes on around the Bulldogs. So sounds like that's what they're going at.
Yep. Jimmy?
Yeah, it's a I spent all yesterday morning trying to get across this. Listened to everything I could listen to from far and wide. I sent you a few things as well, you know. And you're definitely right. People are definitely confusing the story a little bit, because Phil came out at 11 a.m. and told everybody all they needed to know, and that's it. They're the facts. This is how it happened. This is what's going on. We've stood Josh has stood down until further notice and waiting for the test to come back, and that's it. You know, end of story. Took the questions and left. You could not really ask any more questions after Phil gave you that press conference. If you're still wanting more, if you're still wondering more, then I don't know what to tell you, because the man literally repeated himself for 17 minutes. You know,
and that's the point.
Now, yeah, and now to say that apparently there wasn't a second test completed, and the only test they have is the apparently quote unquote positive test that needs to get tested at a lab, then I'm saying, then well, what are you talking about? Because he was in the back of the car and he was administered another test.
Yeah, why would he lie about having the second test? Gus come out and put it to bed. He said, Josh didn't tell me that he was positive. He said there was an inconclusive test, and then he did a second one, and then they let him drive off. Now, all this stuff about, and then Gus said, when the police told him, and when he'd heard the stuff from Danny Wheeler and all that, that he did test positive, Gus is like, well, how can he drive home? And then the police advised, under the circumstances, which Gus communicated, under their discretion, he can go home. And it's also, it saves resources. Whether they had to go somewhere or not is irrelevant. If the person's coherent, doesn't look inebriated, protesting their innocence, and the cops are comfortable with that, they can make that discretion, because it's on them, right? You know, under the actual call of the law, they've got the right to charge him and book him at that point as well, and they didn't do that, right? But they could have done that, but they didn't. So what these idiots at Fox are trying to do, and then all of the Nine media are just as bad, because they then keep running with that story, because it's like, well, they're getting clicks from their confusion, so we'll keep the confusion going. And you got Andy, and you got Vossi and fucking Greg Alexander. You've got Cameron Smith, and everyone that come on SEN today, all saying the same frigging thing, trying to confuse the matter to sell the clicks on advertising, which is what they do, right?
What's left to say? Seriously,
there's nothing left to say. Gus told them that well, you had Braith last night going, oh, but why did he? Why was he allowed to drive? How could he drive after he?
Phil answered the question already.
Phil had already told you, Braith. Why are you asking David Riccio for? Yeah. David Riccio, the compulsive liar. Like, why are you asking him for? The bloke who spent 25 minutes talking about that Brad Arthur was going to come and coach the Bulldogs. Instead, he was in line to coach the Bulldogs and leave the Eels. And then after 17 minutes of talking about it, comes and says, oh, but actually it's not going to happen. Like, what a fucking idiot. Anyway.
Well, Vossi said something today. Vossi said something today, because I listened to their extra little piece about it today. Vossi now is hung up on the fact that why what was it? Why did Josh ring Phil if he believes that he didn't test positive? What's the point? Like, getting tested while you're driving on the road is just a normal part of life. And then I sort of thought about that for a second, but then I said to myself, does Vossi understand that just the fact that Josh Addo-Carr is standing on the side of the road with police being pulled over, someone can snap that picture.
Exactly.
Send it to the media and say, oh, what's going on here? Josh did his due diligence to let Phil know that he was pulled over by the police, just so he knows he was. So Phil doesn't get any images, or the news doesn't get any images of Josh on the side of the road with police. It's not a hard thing to understand. He just wanted to let the man know he was pulled over. That's it, full stop.
Exactly. And look, he didn't tell the full story to Gus. And that is half truth is a half lie as well, right? What you don't say is also a lie. But the question Vossi asked, the logic that you just applied to that, Vossi, in another situation with another player from another team, is likely to apply that logic you applied to someone else. And he was at our awards, handing out the fucking awards. Like, that's what annoys me. It's like, you just do it. Anyway, I think we've said enough about Josh. It's a tragedy. You know, we want him to come back negative and then to have the fallout with we're going to have fans up in arms. There'll be three versions of our fans. There'll be the ones that blame Josh if we lose this week. There'll be the ones that blame the NRL, blame the police, blame Gus if he tested negative. You know, there's going to be a lot.
I'd just like to
say,
say, everybody
out there who just think that it's a black problem, which I've already.
I'd just like to say to everybody, there's no need to even pursue this anymore.
Yeah.
If you really want to know what happened, just go listen to the 17-minute press conference that Gus put out, and that's all you need to know. And Gus will update us with any extra information that comes out. Don't rely on the media. Just wait for Gus. Gus will tell us what we need to know.
All right. Good stuff, guys. Let's move on. Well, James says Patala's put on some bulk this year. More 123 says Bulldogs win on the weekend. I think they will more. Manly haven't beaten us in a finals game for how many years?
1976.
Wow, that's a big stat.
Bro, where are these stats? These stats, it's just like every week there's a new stat.
He says Ryan will be back next year. Veljam says Patala's put on some bulk. Tom Amon and kick out. And Timmy's got to say, to think Tommy Talau was a Bulldogs junior. He sure was. He was in that 2018 SG ball side, which lost the grand final to the Penrith side. A side which had Patolo, Avarillo. I think Ryan Gray was in that side as well. Tommy Talau. And they were definitely the second best side all year. They competed hard against the Penrith Panthers, which included Matt Burton. I'm pretty sure Stephen Crichton was in that game as well. Spencer Lenial, I'm not sure if he played, but he was definitely in that age group. And they also had the winger what's the winger for West that come from Penrith? What's his bloody name? I've forgotten his name. He was in the side as well.
Charlie Staines.
Charlie Staines. And also Mitch Kenny was in that team. So a lot of those kids from those two teams are playing NRL at a high level. So Willie was great in the centres. He sure was. Willie Talau. And you can vote for the best centres with all things Bulldogs. We're putting our team together. So far it's Luke Patton, Hazem El Masri and Matty Utai. And it looks like it'll be Josh Morris and Stephen Crichton as the centres. Willie Talau polled pretty well. Mark loves Timothy as well. I mean, you give the forwards a lot of coke and watch how much harder they work. Timmy says the man is grasping at straws regarding the Jack incident. And that's because Gus shut it down, basically, and fixed it up, which was great leadership.
Gave him nothing to talk about, mate. No more digging.
And that's the other point. That's the other point, too, that we'll make, right, is that they have been pretty nice about the whole thing, especially Fox Sports. But I'll tell you why, because some people might want to sue me after this, but I don't have much money. I'm pretty sure if a lie detector test was done on the journalists and the ex-players, you don't have to say a word about this. I don't associate you with this comment. I'm pretty sure most of them would fail if they were asked whether they took coke, let's say, in the last 2 years. As I just go, hey! All right. I worked at News Corp for a fair while. The entertainment industry is rife with it. Politicians, rich people, cricketers, AFL, soccer, It's just everywhere. It's just bloody everywhere. Waste of money, I reckon. But anyway. Matty can piss off. Mark O'Connell, Gould. He was placed under arrest for testing positive on the first test. He waited in the back of a police car for a second test. Those results are unknown at this stage. The rest is all conjecture. 100%, Mark. Well said.
Well said, Marcus.
Like I said on the kennel, my auntie's used to work in hospital, and she said that medications can cause false positives like ibuprofen and tramadol. Yeah, well, tramadol, it's like a opioid, isn't it? That's what that bloke on the bus was on. Yep, Charlie Staines, the Forbes Ferrari. Thank you, Timmy. Yeah, I can do the Terrell May and then sue anyone if they say that I'm snorting coke. Yeah, mate. Yeah, brother. What's a common denominator with these off-field incidents? The players are Indigenous. Mick made a good point when I raised this with you yesterday. Not all of them, but the ones who get pulled up usually are, and that's look. I know having some Indigenous family and friends and stuff. If you're driving around in a car, and you're Indigenous, you're going to get pulled over more often than people who aren't. That's just a fact. We'll leave it at that. But look, there's Cameron Munster. There's a whole bunch of people who are on the snort. We saw the South Australian opposition leader. He's trying to say it was AI. I'm like, well, wouldn't that be just your face gets put onto someone? Because it was definitely your body, mate.
Well, didn't one of our Olympic hockey players get busted in France for trying to buy a bag? So
Reece Walsh caught with a bag.
It's more common than you'd think, but you know, it's like I'm not gonna look. I'm of two minds of it, man. You know, it's an illegal drug, but at the end of the day, man, I don't like to tell a man how to live his life. You know what I mean?
Mate, there's people endangering the lives of people because they're tired every day on the road. You know, we can all take high horses and say illegal, not illegal. There's legal drugs which are causing accidents all the time. But if you've gone out and taken these drugs and you're on the road and it's in your system and you get caught, you got to be prepared to take the consequences. And if there is an accident and someone dies, you're basically culpable of murder. So not just manslaughter. So don't do it. Don't drink, drive. Don't be an idiot, is what I say. Have a rest.
I think alcohol's the worst thing a lot worse, you know. Freely available over the counter, very accessible. And there are a lot of people out there that drink and drive, mate. A lot of people.
Yeah. Even the next day when they're technically not under the limit, they're still driving hungover. It's still a danger. 100%. Anyway, we're all on our high horse. I am.
Oh, I'm never on a high horse, mate. I'm far from perfect, Mick. Far from perfect.
So Bailey Biondi-Odo, is he still at the Dogs? Nah, he left, mate. He's part of the Cowboys system now, and he's playing in the up there, doing well. Back home, back up in North Queensland. So he might get an opportunity with the Cowboys at one point. Yeah. Does anyone? Timmy's brought up a good point. What's your thoughts about Sam Hughes the other day? Did anyone watch the Sam Hughes press conference?
Yeah, love it.
Did you, Jayden?
Yeah, I seen it.
Love it.
Yeah. Have you watched the Viliami kick-out press conference?
Yep.
I thought he was trying to take the piss out of Viliami kick-out. I don't know if anyone. It was like. It was almost like watching Des Hasler. like trying to.
Where's Sam from? Where'd he grow up? What area?
He's down. He's a Bondi boy in that. He's Cronulla Junior.
Yeah, right.
Mate, you can tell he's been living in. You can tell he's been in Bankstown for the past year. My area.
He's talking a cross between pigeon Lebanese and pigeon Fijian, and I don't know what he's.
Mate, I was listening to him on the phone, and my wife turns around. She goes to me, "Who's that? Is he Lebanese?" And wife's Lebanese.
Well, it takes one to know one, doesn't it? You know, if you're Lebanese, you know Lebanese, or someone who's hanging around. It's like at school, like, you know, I used to talk like in a certain way because of some of my friends. You know, I used to try and copy off them, or you just talk like them. Yeah, bro.
He was real stoic in that interview, though, wasn't he? The way he was talking, he looked like he's holding some energy in there, mate. You know, like he looks like he could be a real goal for us, mate. He looks like in a couple of years, he could be like a real firecracker, mate. Real leader of the forward pack, if you ask me.
He gave me confidence. I thought and look, our forwards were better in that against Cowboys. People may not agree, but they just had to work too hard due to all the errors. But I felt they were better in the contact. I really do.
There's not many front rowers that come into first grade firing. I think he's done pretty well in his first full season.
Yeah, it takes most front rowers about 3, 4, 5 years to be a gun. You look at like Terrell May, he spent a couple of years just playing more and more minutes. And then when was called upon last year, it was like Jared Warrior-Hargraves was playing when he wasn't. I wanted Terrell May based on his performance last year, but Sam Hughes has done a wonderful job.
He's a big dude, man. He's big. Even Jack Underhill. I underestimated how big Jack Underhill is. He's massive.
What a specimen. What a specimen.
He looks like they just went out to a farm somewhere, got the biggest, strongest looking kid and brought him to Sydney, mate.
I swear they need to do a photo shoot for the ladies to make some money, right? I sound like I've got an appreciation, but I just know an opportunity when I see one. Put him in give him an axe with some, and take Sam Hughes with him. They can, you know, wear some overalls with, you know, with their arms showing or whatever.
Maybe that's the next calendar next year. That's the next Bulldogs 2025 calendar.
Yeah, sell it with the firefighters. Donate money. Donate money to the junior leagues. But he's going to be good.
Mark had a good question there about just with the game leading into our first final in 8 years. Do we think that the Josh Addo-Carr thing will distract the side or motivate him? I think it'll motivate him. I think they're going to go out and do it for him, mate. What
do you think, Jayden? Good question.
Yeah, I reckon they're definitely going to be red hot, ready to go. A minor part, Gerald Skelton replacing him is last year at the club. I definitely think he's going to turn up, really have a crack. But yeah, I reckon everyone's going to be red hot, raring to go in this one.
100%. Yeah, I reckon this is our scandal, and it's going to propel us forward. Can't see Serrato allowing this to sidetrack the players. Agree, brother. Timmy says Des needed 10 coffees after a game, sometimes in the post-patch press. So do you think the Dogs will pitch for a Vegas spot in the coming years? Honestly, don't think they're going to pitch for it. I think they'll be. I think there'll be less and less teams signing up for it. To be honest,
it's too much. It's too much demand on the clubs. It's honestly, if you take the hype and the prestige away from it of going to Vegas, it's really a nothing burger for the club, mate. It's money spent. Look. I don't know all the details of the financial things and workings of it, but I dare say the club have to spend a fair bit of money to go over there.
Yep.
You know, and what's it doing to you round one of the season, mate? Flying over there, flying back, like I don't know, mate. Like it's a cool concept, but it's just sort of not really a big deal to me.
Well, that's one thing. The Bulldogs are anti-gambling at the moment, and the whole purpose of it is gambling investment. So I think
Which I really like that stance, man, and I wish more clubs would take it because, for the love of God, man, I'm sick of seeing the odds. I'm sick of seeing bet with this place, bet with that place. It's just out of control, mate. Out of control. I'm sick of seeing it.
Yeah. Look, I don't mind having a bet. It's in my blood. I've been betting my whole life, but I also know it's a mug's game, and you can have a bit of fun on the weekend, and people are utilising bonus bets very strategically out there, but there's also people getting in way over their heads, and it's getting worse and worse. It's not getting better; it's getting worse. So
people are going to gamble if they want to. I don't think we need all the clubs and stuff throwing it at them. These major sponsors and everything.
Like, I don't mean get rid of it all. Like, I don't mean get rid of it all, because obviously people could do what they want, mate. But what I'm saying is, it feeds into the fans' animosity judging the outcome of a game each weekend, because it's more about the multis these days than their actual club winning a game. And then what does that failed multi do, man? It sends you onto Instagram or Twitter or whatever to just blast someone, Yeah.
Fantasy football's bad enough. The heat that players are copping because they didn't hit their stats, and some of it's such a close thing. It's like they make one more tackle, or if that half line break becomes a line break, they make that pass. People win thousands or they lose thousands. Like, that's why I don't tip much, because I just find that I don't enjoy the games as much, because I have to go for the teams that I've tipped, but I don't want to support them. So,
we got a tipping comp with the boys, and I think the tipping comp's more about the banter, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just about who's winning the comp, and it's just more about just a bit of fun on the side, with the lads.
Well, I did at work. I used to run I used to run the sweeps for Melbourne Cup, and I used to run a punters club, and literally this is the only money that I spent on the gambling all year, which was $20 a week, and you had a partner, and then you'd bet the money in that. And see, look, I don't care about people having a bet. I don't mind a bet, but I think the advertising of sports betting agencies needs to piss off out of the game. That's what I believe. But
it's too in your face.
There's too many. It does give. It's the number one funder of the game we love. Like, it's a catch-22.
Well, it's just too in your face. You turn the game on, mate, and it's just the odds, bet with your head, and then it's too front and center for my liking. The gambling relationship with the football. Are we racist against Marks? Are you a Mark racist, Mick?
I just discriminate. I've got a little nephew called Mark, and he used to have a cockatoo. They used to repeat what all of us, because we'd all be going, Mark, you fuck. Sorry. And the cocky used to repeat it all the time. So all day, all you'd hear is, Mark. Anyway. So, yeah, I've got a thing against Marks. Contrite little shits. Where is Mike Cool, our stats and superstition guru guy? I don't know, Timmy. You might have to hunt him up. He's probably scared of Mark, because Mark's literally tried to adopt him. Here's one from the part. Any word on how Ockenbaugh is going in the UK? I'll tell you how he's going. His first game for Hull was horrible, and his second game was worse, which I was sad for him. He got traded to Bradford, which was the rung below. He was starting to get it together there, doing well there. Franklin Pele got suspended on the first tackle he made at 4-hole. He ended up at Bradford with Ockenbaugh a few weeks later. So, and they've both been, I think, extended there. So they're both signed to the second division with the Bradford Bulls, who beat Canterbury in a World Club Challenge match. in 2005 when they were in the Premier League. So there you go.
Franklin Pele was a bit of a disappointment for me, man. I was actually really looking forward to having a big line bender on the side, and he was the goods, but it just didn't work out.
Mark, well, let's start talking about Manly, the Manly game. I think we need to talk about that now and then head on our separate ways. But let's talk about it. If we play expansive, we smash Manly. Jayden, how are we going to beat the Sea Eagles? How do you see it happening?
Yeah, don't do what we did last time. But yeah, we really this time we have to get in the grind. I think as much as we want to throw the ball around, Manly are very similar. They want to go sideline to sideline. They're a bit more dangerous with their spread, where we're pretty safe getting it edge to edge using our centers and outside backs. They're going for the long ball, trying to make magic happen on every play. They're a team that can be tough to get in the grind against. They don't want to get in the grind, but if you can slow down their forwards and then make it hard for them and make it so they can't spread the ball, that's how you can definitely slow them down. But this one's massively going to come down to our middle forwards and not getting bashed like we did the other week. Slowing down Paseka is probably one of my key matchups in this one. He was pretty dominant last time. So, yeah, slowing down that middle of the field's where I'd be prioritizing our game plan for this one.
Jimmy?
I agree with everything that Jayden just said. See, there's a lot of danger in this game. Like you look at Olakuatu, you're looking at Paseka, you're looking at Lodge. Lodge is going to have a third leg just off the game he had off the way he played against us before. Tommy's back, but you know what? It's going to be a needled up Tommy, and it's going to be a Tommy that is going to be a bit more reserved with the contact on that shoulder, because let's just say they do get through us this week, which I don't think is going to happen. He needs to come out healthy, otherwise they're not going to go any further. So that might stifle Tommy a little bit, just to be out there and maybe direct the defense a little bit and get less involved in the contact, because I don't think his shoulder's 100% at all.
I think we did pretty well against him last time as well. He had his moments when he got through, but he might have broken the first line, but we stopped him pretty well.
DCE, we got to contain DCE. We can't let him get that 40-20 completely turned the game around. Broke momentum. It gave him a real leg up on us. Can't let this guy hit him.
Yep. Look, I go back to that game. They dominated us through the middle. We couldn't get out of our own 20 for that first half. Even we got a leg up and scored pretty easily. We bombed a couple of chances as well. Could easily have been 24-18 going into into half time. It could have easily been 24-18 after a few minutes of that second half. Now, I said this in the wrap up after the Cowboys game, and I might have said it last week as well, but the coach, if you remember, we were making all of our ground by going around the Manly Sea Eagles through our left edge through Bronson Cherry. I think he ran about 280 metres in that match. And what he did was that they basically opened the door and said, go that way. Their right edge defence has been pretty horrible, the Manly Sea Eagles. So we kept going there, and we were having big inroads through that side of the field. Now, in the second half, because we were doing that, I think their coach was worried that we were eventually going to break them down and put on points, because they were so condensed. The way they were condensing, which is what was choking the hell out of us, and that was our only sort of escape. But when they increased their spacing and didn't play as condensed, we became suddenly started making meters off our runs, and also were condensing what they were able to do because they weren't able to sort of hold us as much. It really brought us back into the match. We score that first try, which is disallowed, which, I can't really argue too much with it. I still think it should have been called a try, 100%. Cherry was called for an obstruction. Then that 40-20, that was off the back of a pretty poor set by Manly. And just the way it kept rolling, you just knew it was their night from that point on. But I felt that second half, all that domination they had in that everyone's talking about with their forward pack over our pack, I don't believe it was as that second half, that didn't exist as far as I'm concerned. It felt like a normal game for the Bulldogs at that point. And that 40-20, as you said, was the real turning point in the match. But if they come out and condense against us, I think Mark hit the nail on the head a little bit. I think we will go around them and we will cause them some pain on either side. There will be a surprise there. And it's all going to come down to, are we going to throw the miracle ball, or are we going to just plant down there and put them under pressure and make them try and find those magical moments that DCE got in order to get out of trouble against us? We can strangle them, we can hold them up, we can drive them back, we can play the game that we like to play. And you'll think you're also right about Tommy Turbo. He's definitely, when he's not at his best, I don't care. You can just tell, but he can still throw a pretty good ball. He's still chime in really well. He can be quiet and you think he's not there. And then all of a sudden they're putting on points because of him. He can sit back and watch and see what's happening, and inject himself at will, even when he is a bit under the weather. But the one thing he's really good at is, and I noticed this, Burton and Toby were both getting the ball on their 10-metre line. He quickly runs it to the 20 and was able to land on his front and get that second play, the ball off to a really good start. And that's something that most fullbacks haven't been able to do against the Bulldogs for most of the season. We've been able to dominate that early tackle through the kick out, putting them under pressure, making them run sideways, all that sort of stuff. Bailey Hayward coming in and knocking them down. And that's really set our sets up in defence, whereas Tommy was getting theirs off to a much better start. And that is what enabled their forwards to get the roll on that they got. So that's my thoughts on it. If we're going to beat that, I think we'll have more energy. I think we will be better in the contact in defence. And I think we will have some tricks up our sleeve to break them down. And I think the Manly Sea Eagles are going to have to play what Jayden says. They're going to have to play that game where they're not in the grind, and they're going to have things really come off for them over and over and over. And I would not be surprised if there is a period in the game where they score back-to-back tries and look like they're well on top. But I don't think that's going to be the be-all and end-all of this game of rugby league if that does happen.
We've got to turn them around. Keep turning them around, especially out of our own half. Put those screamers up from Burton. Make them run back to their try line, mate. Keep turning them around.
Yeah, I think we got to try to get those kicks getting at the wingers as much as possible. Try to get Turbo taking that second hit up rather than the kick return, ideally.
Yeah.
Take him out of that second play.
Yeah, I think when we've got a proper defensive line set up to play the ball, we can control Turbo. But on the kick returns, broken field, a lot harder to stop. One other thing, getting back to Gerald Skelton in the team, the way that Manly side went, as you were talking about, targeting our left side attack on the kicks this week, and in that game, Bronson Cherry had an incredible game, got through a ton of meters, but he did that with Josh Addo-Carr next to him, who can do the get out set stuff, but it's not the best part of his game. Now we've got Bronson Cherry and Gerald Skelton next to each other, both of them incredible in the get out sets, big bodies, very powerful. Another thing that, Gerald Skelton, not the player, Josh Addo-Carr, is very, very different styles. But if that's what they're going to do again, they're going to target our left side and keep the ball away from Kiraz. I think we should be pretty comfortable getting out of our own 20.
Do you think look, I think there might be a couple of changes, and I don't know what you guys think. I think Kiraz will go and play outside Cherry, and I think Jarrell will play with Critter. I really do.
Thought that, but whether they do it or not, I think teams just can't get out our left winger as much because of Kickow, Burton, and Cherry playing well, and Gerald Skelton isn't a very good defensive winger. I'm a massive Skelton fan. I love his game, but defense is definitely not the best part of his game. Him working with Critter would definitely help him out, but it's rare that teams can even get to our wing on our left side when we are at full strength. So I'm not too sure. I'm curious to see what they do.
It'll be interesting because they've got so that's Tommy Talau's side, their right edge, and that's who it'd be up against. So that'd be very interesting. We're likely to get better yardage out of our first hit up and second hit up from our back three with those two on either side of the field. Mark doesn't believe we can grind Manly. We don't have the troops. Well, I don't know about that. It depends what your version of grind is. We've been in the grind with every team this year.
Manly
grind everyone.
Manly they've had some disappointing losses today to teams they definitely should have smashed.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe we're still the favourites to win this, aren't we, Mark? In the bookies?
Equal odds at the moment.
So there's a reason for that. There isn't really much confidence that this game isn't going to go vastly in one direction either way. So it's going to be a good one.
Yeah. Dave, welcome, Dave from WA. What would each of your biggest concern be for the Dogs going into the game? For me, it's our attack. We take our chances and reduce errors. We win the game. Thoughts?
That's the thing, right? The errors. No errors.
Yeah. We have to be prepared to go for it. Look, I don't want us to be like the Socceroos last night, 63% possession and absolutely no penetration whatsoever. I can't believe I lost 3 hours sleep last night to watch that performance. I support our teams. So there you go. I just hope that I know we will have penetration. We have got class, and if we don't drop the ball, what we will see is that both of our edges will have time and space for the footy, and Manly are going to have to be good to put a stop to us. That's what I think. Our attack's very underrated. Last week was clunky, and you take three of your attacking players out from one side, you're going to struggle, and then the rest of it. We've got to slow down there, play the ball. We're all in agreement of that, guys. I do, 100%. Welcome, EK. Nice to see you. He says, slow down the ruck, keep them in their half, limit errors, and we win. Yeah, and look, Serraldo said it pretty much like that. It's pretty simple, the stuff we've got to change in order to win. You got to do that. You do that stuff, you win matches. So it's not like we've forgotten how to tackle or forgotten how to. We just haven't been respecting the football and tried to take shortcuts and stuff like that. I'm glad you brought this one up, Tiam. Ram, welcome to the show. Thoughts on starting Curran and Hughes to come off the bench? I was actually going to mention this myself, that maybe we do need to, it's one thing to go and combat it with the two big boys, but I think they probably need to bring one more mobile person to start the game and then have some sort of big person to come on with some energy in short stints. But Curran's shoulder's a bit of a worry for me. What's everyone's thoughts on starting Curran and maybe Hughes or King coming off the bench? Probably Hughes.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think our starting duo are the most suitable as starting players. Max King and Sam Hughes don't have the impact, the second phase football skill about them. They both can do it. Max King has done it in the past, but it's not the best part of his game. Curran, out of all of our guys coming off the bench, offers the most in attack out of the big boys. So I wouldn't look to start him and lose that potential. Yeah, it's been a bit of a talking point all year that Curran should be in the starting side, but yeah, no, in my opinion, he offers the most off the bench. And then you still have an experienced guy that can play big minutes coming on the field that can just about finish off the game if you need him to. So yeah, especially coming into the first week of the finals, I wouldn't be looking to make changes.
We're terrible at defending our line after an error. I can't count how many times we've conceded after a drop ball. A lot of the times it's happened within the same movement, though, I must say. We've been EK. Thanks for joining the show. Technically, we have been the most resilient on our own line out of any other side in the comp. We've defended more tackles inside our own 20 than any other team in the comp. Last couple of weeks, it's definitely taken a hit. I agree, and we have been punished for errors. You're definitely right about that. But I do believe we have been rather resilient on our line. But you can't make 125 more tackles than your opposition and expect to not concede 5 or 6 tries.
Yeah. Feels like if a team earns their way to our try line, we lock them down. But if we give them our try line, it's a try every time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Well,
definitely a perception thing.
Well, one thing I've liked, right, is this year I'm sort of a lot less nervous now when they're getting repeat sets on our try line, because we've turned so many teams away after like 3 sets of 6 on our own try line. You know, like that worry has sort of been taken out of my mind lately. Yep.
That was evident from round 1 this year. We had 30% possession at the 70th minute mark. We're on 30% possession and only conceded 4 tries and 2 off sort of ridiculous things, you know. It's been like it since round 1, even though we conceded quite a few points.
I'd like to see Skelton back himself this week and just run someone over. When he's got clear open ball and either Turbo or Lehigh comes across to try and meet him, I just want to see him run him over. Yeah, I don't want to see it like he's got the strength, the power, and the size to go through a few blokes, you know. And I saw in the last game he played, he was sort of stepping on the inside a bit more instead of backing himself.
All right, so Mark says he'd rather see Curran start and Salmon off the bench. So, Mark, in your opinion, that you should have your best team on the park to start? Because I think that's what you're saying. So you have your best. So you have your 3 biggest blokes, plus your 2 best edges, and then your bench should be Salmon, Moran, Hayes, and Hayward. So, yeah, 3 players that pretty much every one of those players have played in the halves at some point in their career too, except for Hayes, who was a centre last year.
I think maybe Curran coming off the bench is probably better just for the fact that he's a bit bigger than Salmon, and you want that bigger body coming off the bench with fresh legs who is also mobile.
And he's faster than Salmon too.
Yeah. To get into the game when the fatigue has started to set in. We know it's cliche, you know, the fatigue set in, take the sting out of the game. But I feel like Curran is more, in the current setup we've got, is more better utilised off the bench for that sole purpose, you know, big body, but does have the leg speed to get through the middle, take advantage of a few tired props.
Yeah, if I was looking to start Curran, that would probably be where I would be looking, but it messes up a lot of rotations if you're doing that now.
you have to have another big body on the bench. So you have to drop someone off that bench. So it's like, all right, do you drop Salmon? No, well, that's not going to happen. So why? I don't even know why we worry about talking about it. But yeah,
We
look,
don't have the player coming up to suit that role either.
Yeah, I've said all season that Curran, there'll be times when they use him off the bench. There'll be times where he starts, and it'll be horses for courses. And the way we're positioned at the moment, the team that we've got, his leg speed to get behind the line, he can do that a lot better than Salmon can as well. So he's playing in the front row. He's not playing lock. Whereas Salmon and Hayward are playing as a genuine ball playing lock role in the team. EK, yeah, the whole forward needs to rock up 100%. TM Ram, Skelton was extremely bad against Lehigh last time. He's double his size, but was manhandled. I reckon Sura over Skelton. Skelton is leaving Sura has something to prove and is hungry. Yeah, look, there's many agree with you, TM. I'm one that doesn't. I think you've got to give the next man up the go, and I think Gerald, experience-wise, is the best call for us. Sura, it's just too big of a risk at this point. But literally, he's next to man up. If Skelton's fit, Skelton's got to play. If Skelton's got an injury, Sura will come in, I'm pretty sure.
Sua's time will be next year because don't forget Wilson's injured. So Wilson obviously is next man up on the wing rotation. But then I dare say Sua will take Skelton's spot once he goes off to West. So his time will come next year. He's in the mix. He knows that.
We dropped the ball in turbo, picked up the scraps. Yeah, saw that, mate. That second try they got where Luke Brooks kicked the ball through, like that was unlucky for us. Burton needs to put torpedoes up on turbo to make him unfortunately with a good kick chase. He'll know he's carrying an injury. Yeah, good. Yeah, if we've got the time and space to be able to put Turbo under pressure and smash him, no doubt. Yeah, look, the stuff about Skelton in that game too, I want to say this. They weren't kicking at Skelton. They were starved of possession on that side of the field, and Manly, because they dominated so much in the forwards, Cherry Evans was able to put the ball exactly where he wanted it. So basically what they did was they tied our left edge out too. They forced that as the area that we had to attack. That's where they opened the door. And it was also the area that they gave us the ball coming out of our own end. So as Jayden was saying, it was all the Fox and Cherry doing all the hit-ups. And Skelton and Kiraz hardly did anything in that first half. When things changed in the Manly defensive line, the whole game changed, and we saw a lot more runs from Skelton and from Kiraz in that second half. Context is a big thing in rugby league, and I think, yeah, maybe they could have done a little bit more and had a few more runs and defended a little bit better. But I also think there was some context in the way the game was played, which took them out of the game, and I think that was deliberate. I think Manly didn't want to have Kiraz and Skelton running the ball out. They wanted it. They wanted the Fox and that to be the ones getting tired, bringing the ball off their own end, which is what happened.
It's the good thing about this week, having Skelton in the field. This is our best back four or back five for get out sets. Like there's no weakness back there.
Yeah, 100%. Skelton does excel coming out of yardage, more so than Josh, I feel.
Yeah.
It'd be good to have Tupanua now. Be good to have Tupanua now. I don't think Salmon's a bad player, man. He's, How many fans are we expecting on Sunday? All right, let's give our tips on. Mark says 50,000. That seems to be the juicy number. Do you think we can get more than that? How many Manly fans are going to turn up?
Well, apparently, I've been going over to their board just to have a bit of a browse, to see what the sentiment is. And I've seen a lot of people not wanting to cross the bridge because they're scared to faces if they lose. So I don't know. The Manly Bay's sold out. I know that, but it's definitely
like
going to
1,000
be.
people, isn't it?
I think there's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of people that game.
Yeah, definitely. Well, 35,000 on 6 p.m. Friday game last week. I don't know what the numbers were for the Cowboys game. It's going to be a big turnout.
And this is 2 Sydney clubs now, 2 well-supported Sydney clubs. So it's going to be big.
I reckon there'll be a lot of parents telling their little kids that the Fox is playing, getting them excited, and they'll be like, "Where's the Fox?
Yeah.
Oh, he's out there. He's out there." He's so popular amongst the kids. I reckon I'm going to say 60,000, 59,000 are going to turn up. It's going to be massive.
I see it.
Yeah.
Dogs of War, 500 Manly fans, I reckon.
Did you see Gus's tweet a couple of weeks ago?
What did he say?
It was a video. A Manly fan took a video from the Manly Bay and sent it to Gus and said, "What? We don't cross the bridge, do we?" And then Gus said, "Oh, congratulations to all 100 of you." Not Gus, sorry, Buzz.
Buzz, yeah.
Yeah, Buzz has been good value this year. I'm not going to lie. On the Twitter, mate, he's up for the banter this year. I don't mind it.
Bulldog versus Arco. Yep.
Yes.
Bulldog versus Arco. Rest in peace. There you go, guys. So what's the score going to be? Are we going to win or what?
We're going to win.
Yes, we are.
But the score, it's going to be tight. I think there might only be a try in it, to be honest with you.
It's usually close with Manly in a semi-final, but we normally get there.
I think it'll be
Like I
close.
said,
I think
like
there's going to be more points than we want, but I still think it'll be close.
Like the stat says, they haven't beat us in a final since 1976. So that's a big gap. It's a long time.
I'm thinking 26 points to 8 to the Bulldogs.
26 to 8.
I like that.
I hope so.
Manly did lead 8-6 at some point in the match.
I hope it's not a golden point affair, mate, because I can't handle any more of them. I've already filled my quota of golden point stress outs this year.
Oh, mate, I know. And it just comes down to this week, doesn't it? I'm thinking I've got to pull out the back. I've got some Bulldogs beach balls to put in it for October when we make the grand final. Party at my house. I should be trying to get tickets to the game. But Dave says 17-4. Oh, it's a repeat of 95, is it, Dave? Didn't we win 17-4 in 1995 against Manly?
Yeah.
Something like that. Adam G, the discussion on Adam G. I don't know. I don't read into that. I'm like, he refed a good grand final. He's not here this year. He mustn't have deserved it.
Can I say something about this, about the refs, right? Vossi was having a big sook today about Andrew G not being appointed as one of the 4 refs, and then he went as far as to say when he called one of the games for Fox that G was reffing this week, he said, "Oh, geez, Andrew G is having a good game." How far have we sunk that we're commenting on refs' performances now? And the fact that we even know who these blokes are, I don't care who the ref is. I don't want to hear about the ref. I just want him to ref the game with some integrity and with some common sense.
If I know the ref's name, I'm probably not liking that ref in the game.
It's not a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not for a good reason.
No.
It's not a good thing.
Yep, that's the thing. You get good professional referees, you make them insignificant. Don't have them being talked about. There's not too many refs being talked about in AFL circles. There's none in netball. Basketball, they don't talk about their refs too often. They're not the stars,
They've become so important now. Like, they're part of the game now, mate. Oh, who's reffing this week? I don't care, man. They're not playing.
Yeah. Everyone waits for the referee report every Monday.
Look,
And it's just an indictment.
on Jared Sutton, because, as Mark says, the stats don't lie with Sutton. But for me, it's more it's who he loves Souths and who he dislikes.
Like Mark says, the refs are an integral part of the game. I agree with him, right? But I'm coming at it from the point of view where the refs have I don't want to know about the ref. You know, it's not a thing where the ref is inserted into the game as this key piece that everybody's making it out to be. You know, the ref should be ref in the game. The ref should be quiet and only be pulling that whistle out when it's absolutely needed. Not to the point where we're sitting here on Monday and Annesley is just giving his usual diatribe about how he's defending the bunker and defending the refs, when clearly these decisions is just absolute idiocy. You know, and the refs now, the fact that we know their names, it's not for a good reason with most of them. It's for a bad reason, because they're constantly talking about their stuff ups.
Yeah,
I understand. Ref in the game it's hard, but the technology is there to not have these stuff ups.
The issue is like, go back a few years. We always knew at the first 10, 15 minutes, they couldn't wait to blow their whistle to set the precedent, and then they put their whistle away. As the pressure built in the game, they put their whistle away, be more sort of forgiving on the length of time. They take into account fatigue and whatever else. If it was going down to the wire, they'd put their whistle away. And the commentators and the opinion makers who decide what we talk about, they complain about that. They complain that the refs aren't blowing the whistle. But then when they see a game where the ref hasn't blown the whistle, they love it. It's the best game of rugby league of all time. And now we're talking about whether, because someone who refed a free-flowing game in the grand final and in Origin should be the referee in this semi-final series. Well, I don't know. Like, he's had some big penalty counts this year in his games. He hasn't let every game free flow. So it's got nothing to do with the individual. It's got to do with what the referees are doing as a whole at the time. 2 weeks ago against Manly, and the week before that, there was the most penalties recorded in a round ever, right? And then last week, they decided not to pin every high contact. They only pinned it if it looked like a head high or something. But if they was incidental contacts, which happened, which they were penalising 2 weeks earlier, they were letting them go. You know,
so
they weren't sin binning anyone last week. And they were letting the game flow last week, getting in ready for the final. So you probably think there'll be a couple of penalties early, and then it'll be free flowing for the rest of the match.
If all these refs are going, if they're all going to the same ref school or whatnot, where they're all learning from the same programs, the same training, how are they reffing games so wildly different? I need to know.
Human interpretation.
You know, it's not like they're going to different. It's not like they're going to different places to learn how to ref the game. It's the same place, isn't it? The same facility, the same coaching, the same standards, the same training.
Yeah.
Like, so how are they seeing things so differently if they're all learning off the same playbook?
Yeah, I get it for the on-field refs. When it gets to the bunker is when it's like
That's
ridiculous.
the point.
Yeah, on-field people see it as they go. It definitely changes. When it's in the bunker, it should be a straight line with every call. Like there's moments where stuff looks a bit different, but should be very consistent.
Well, the tries that were disallowed for kick out where Bronson Cherry was interrupted, and then you got the one on the weekend from the Dolphins. Sort of similar incidents, probably more prevalent in the Dolphins one, where you've got one defender sort of taking the bait and moving towards the other defender, and the one going through's actually got nowhere really to go, and makes really slight contact or no contact, and they've pulled those tries up. Now, under the letter of the law, you know, the coaches have worked that out in their defensive line. If you actually push towards your player and take the bait, and the decoy's running between you, you're going to get contact, and it's going to be, even though it's on the inside shoulder of one, it's on the outside of the other, so you're going to get the call. So they're trying to say now that that rule is that defenses are going to do that all the time, and they might have to ban decoys altogether. Like, I'm just like, it's just ongoing saga with the whole thing. Just fix the bloody rule and stick to it.
That's the problem, the game changes. Like this short dropout, this is probably the worst thing that, man, if you fail on a short dropout, it should be an instant penalty, mate, not just another 6. You basically, there's no risk of reward anymore with this short dropout. It's become commonplace now. Every team is just, every dropout's a short dropout now. And it used to be reserved for those teams that were able to short drop out. And if you weren't able to do that, you got to catch up.
Yeah, there's no repeat sets anymore.
Mark's making the point that everyone's known who the refs were in the rugby game. Yeah, because they were considered the best refs. So you got Hollywood Hartley, who's a Bulldog supporter. Graham Annesley, Barry Gomersall, the biggest cheat from Queensland. I used to like Kevin Roberts. He was good. He was a good
Tony
player.
Archer.
Oh, I didn't like Tony. I'm Tony. Get back on side, mate. Fuck off, Tony. So we all know their names. That's the problem.
That's the problem, bro. Why do I know Tony Archer's name?
It's like they got their referee license out of a cereal box. Look, Canterbury, John Curry was saying this on the podcast the other day. They're really investing heavily into our junior referees program and want to build a pathway for referees to come through and produce referees out of our area. I think it's really good initiative by the Bulldogs, and I hope a lot of clubs do that. And I'm sure there are clubs that are doing that and have always done that at some level. But, we need referees to become more consistent and better at what they do.
Like, I don't want to sound like I'm just crapping on refs because the on-field refs have a tough job. Their job is to maintain the peace essentially between these two sides, because without the ref, they're just going to start going out there and start going, Emotions start getting better at people, things like that. Keeping up with the pace of the game, trying to see things that sometimes you don't even see on TV. Their eyes have got to be on the ball, calling the tackle count, keeping track of everything. It's a stressful job. I believe it is. It's not an easy job at all. And what Mark said, it's true. The bunker is the critical piece here, where I accept that the refs get the decisions wrong. That's what the captain's challenge is for. Perfectly fine. But when the bunker is the one that's got all of these angles, man, it's got satellite imagery, right, to slow down these plays and see exactly what happened, and they're still getting it wrong, that is what is killing me right now, man.
Yeah. And they do look at things in a certain way each week too. So that's where you get your difference, because you'll have 2 people, plus you got the touch judge, and you got the bunkers in their ear all the time. Like Reid Marnie got penalised because he was looking at Sutton with his back turned to him, waiting for Sutton to turn around and tell him that he can get off. And the bunker's in Sutton's ear telling him, Reid Marnie's sitting all over this player. He needs to get up. And then he penalised him without actually fucking looking at him.
The bunker should never consult the referee. The referee is the one that should be consulting the bunker, and the bunker should be kept out of the game until the referee asks for assistance, full stop.
Yeah.
So, man, they sit there and they're like looking at the ref saying, look, I can get off. It's a dominant tackle sort of situation. But, yeah. Look, all of us have got to work tomorrow. We've been yawning the whole time. Who steps into this Bulldogs team next year? Jack Todd, I'd definitely say that 100%. Joey O'Neill, I'm not sure. And Joash Papali, not sure either. We like, I know Todd's at the Bulldogs next year, definitely. Not sure what's happening with Joash and with Joey O'Neill at this stage. But I'm sure if they're not with the Bulldogs, they will be they'll be playing NRL or close to an NRL call-up at some other club. And I'll say that about a lot of our juniors at the moment. Bunker's the problem, yet we agree with that. Oh, g'day, Andrew Macca.
Oh,
Welcome.
Macca.
We all love Macca. Come on, the Dogs.
I think you should get Macca on, mate, for a show soon in the future.
He won't come on, mate. But you can
Come
do what
on,
John
Macca.
Curry did, Andrew. You can come on and just, put your Matty Burton avatar on if you don't want to show your face. Although I heard you're a good-looking bloke. And you might get – I think my female audience is about 0.01%. And I'm like, Renee, can you, create a few accounts to get me female audience up? So Andrew might bring some of the you got no idea what you're talking about, mate. I reckon you're very articulate and you could hold your own with anyone here, and you could also ask a lot of good questions on behalf of fans as well. So we believe in you like we believe in the Bulldogs.
Did I mention the recency bias of our draw that's recently popped up?
What?
Oh God, this is the new one now on Twitter, on NRL X, that we should, on the threads, mate. People are trying to insinuate now that the only reason we are where we are is because we had a soft draw. We had the hardest draw of any team from last year's 8 when the draw came out pre-season, man. And now people want to say we had a soft draw.
Yeah, I've actually commented on that very point on Facebook and on Twitter on about 11 occasions today. We played 18 of 24 matches. We had a shorter turnaround than the opposition. We played 11 matches out of the top 8 against the current top 8 sides. We played 11 matches. Penrith played the same as us. Everyone else played less than us. We played more top 8 from last year than 15 of the other 16 sides. We had the toughest draw overall in the competition. We also have the most games injured out of any team in the top 8. Cowboys 1 or 2 below, and they had long-term injuries to players like Cohen Hess and a couple of others who have been out for long periods. But, yeah, that's the point with all that. Andrew can change his name to Audrey. Hindsight is 2020, Jimmy. Look, guys, I'm going to end this now. We need to get up, and Jimmy's got to drive trains, and Jayden's got to, weld jumbo 747s and stuff. And I've got to go and deliver Are You OK Day cupcakes. Ask your mates, ask your family, are you okay today, tomorrow, and do it every day. But also have your banner. Give them just as much shit. Call them soft. Call them hard, whatever it is. But just make sure they're all right. And one last thing. New song was released today called King Kiraz, Pour Me Some Shiraz, based about Jacob Kiraz. I'm going to play that on our way out so everyone can have a quick listen to this. Tell me what you think. It's written in the style of, Karate Kid classics from the 80s. I'm going to start it again. It's a bit cringy, but I love it. See you, Macca.
Mate, you're enjoying yourself there, mate.
Oh, loving it.
You know that Kiraz is his favourite player, don't you, Jayden?
It's just about everyone's favourite player, I reckon.
Yeah, mate. He loves Kiraz.
Pour me some Shiraz, King Kiraz. All right. Hope you like that, everyone. Thanks for coming on, everybody. I'll say goodbye to you quickly after this. Going to end the stream now. Go the Dogs. We can win. Hopefully, we get to play the Roosters because I want to play Penrith in the grand final if it's all going to match up.
Oh, I'd love that. Penrith Dogs grand final.
Kiraz the Shiraz. Pour me some Shiraz, Kiraz. Night, lads. Yeah, Mark. Mark, don't worry. I'll make you a country version for the. I can make plenty of versions of that song. I've got the reggae version. I've got plenty of versions. Very talented man I am. All right. See you guys. Have a good night.